Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد. أما بعد فأوصيكم بتقوى الله فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى صلوات اللهم صل على محمد. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, first of all, I advise myself for taqwa, parhezgari and piety, and then I advise all of you for the same. In last two khutbas, we had covered a list of things which are known as ma'roof, and our duty was to remind each other for those things which were known as ma'roof, and we were supposed to do al-amr bil ma'roof. Amr bil ma'roof, that we had to remind each other about our duties and responsibilities toward those known Islamic duties. Today we are starting a list of munkarat. Munkarat is plural of munkar. Munkar is something that in the custom or the tradition of religion and the religious people, this is something which is questionable. This is something that religion and the teachings of religion, when we explore, they discourage this, or they don't like this, and they don't approve this. This is called something as munkar. Now, Amr bil Ma'roof is little bit easier than doing the Nahi Anil Munkar. Amr bil Ma'roof is all reminding each other or asking each other or requesting each other to do something which is known as good. Everybody agrees. Fortunately, within the community, among the Muslims, that, for example, prayer is something good. It is obligatory, it is good, it is worship. Or, for example, being obedient or kind with your parents, being respectful to the elders. So this is something which is, we all agree, it's good. And then asking someone to take care of this or to keep it in mind, it is much easier than doing Nahi Anil Munkar. Nahi Anil Munkar is that we see somebody doing something which is questionable, which is bad, which is illegal, which is immoral, and then having the courage to now tell the person that stop it, for example. Don't do it. This is bad. This is not right. It needs more courage. It needs more guts. And many times the challenge is, the cost is that we won't remain friends anymore. We won't we won't have that much respect in somebody's heart or in somebody's mind, that if we will correct him, if we will correct her, or if we will tell him or tell her that what you are doing is wrong and you need to stop it. So that is why Amr bil Ma'ruf is much easier than doing the Nahi Anil Munkar. But both are equally wajib. So we cannot say Amr bil Ma'ruf is more wajib or more important and Nahi Anil Munkar is less. Actually, both are equally important, and sometime Nahi Anil Munkar is actually, if we want to say that one is more wajib than the other, then Nahi Anil Munkar, because this creates more mess in the community, in the society. Munkarat actually are the weeds which grow faster and which actually take over on all the positive energy and the positive resources and everything. So Ma'ruf grows, as you know, the vegetables and everything else grows in its own speed. But Munkar, Munkarat, they grow as weeds grow. They are self-grown, they grow very fast, and they take over everything and all the room around. So doing Nahi Anil Munkar, if we want to say that one is more important than the other, then Nahi Anil Munkar is more important. And that is why, if we look at the life of Anbiya and later the life of A'imma, so their first, when they start their movement, everyone, they started with Nahi Anil Munkar. Their more focus was on Nahi Anil Munkar. Ma'ruf, they introduced Ma'rufat later on, one after another. As we know, the Salat, for example, it became wajib, but it was only one Salat at the beginning. And there was no Zakat at that time. Zakat was introduced later. But there was no fasting at that time. So the fasting was introduced even later. Then there was no Hajj, for example. Then it was introduced even later. So certain things, these are the ma'ruf things. But munkarat, those were the first things which the Prophet, he challenged, and he tried to tell people that these are something which are you have to avoid from. So this is, we look at the, if we read the Quran and the stories of Anbiya and their utmost effort and struggle against shirk and kufr, and then certain other practices which people were used to do in the name of religion. So Anbiya came and they told them that no, these things are not part of religion. These are misconceptions of religion. These are the deviations, and you need to stop. And this is how the prophets got in trouble. If prophets would not stop people from doing things which people were doing in the name of their religion, nobody would go after those prophets, nobody would abuse them, nobody would curse them, nobody would hit them, nobody would assassinate them, nobody would make them run away or remove them from their hometowns. Why Anbiya had gone through all that? Not because of Amr bil Ma'ruf. They were put in the trouble because of that Nahi Anil Munkar. Because that is what people don't like. They say, I know, who are you to tell me? I know this is sin, if it is sin. I know it is bad, but who are you to tell me that it is bad? And so this is, people don't like Nahi Anil Munkar. So that is why it is a very important duty. But again, first of all, we need to do how to do it. We have discussed it earlier that we need to do it skillfully. We need to do it politely. We need to do it in a very appropriate manner. We don't have to be rude. We don't have to be a person that who is insulting others. We need to find the proper phrases, proper words, proper way. Many times it's good to do privately. You can talk to the individual privately and tell my brother or my uncle or my sister or my aunt, this is something what I have observed. I have great respect for you. You are doing so many good things. I admire you for all those good things what you do. But here is something which I don't think that you are right, or there is something that you need to look into. And again, this is what I can point out, but you can go and check with Maulana, you can check with your marja taqleed, you can check with your scholar, you can go and do some research on that. There are books available. For example, that particular alim has written a book and there is a reference and you can go and check. So, but make it short, make it to the point, don't give lecture, people don't like lectures. It should be sweet, it should be short, it should be to the point, it should be respectfully. But that has to be done. We cannot say that person knows, so I don't have to go and tell. No, we have to tell. This is a duty to remind. People know things. I'm not telling you anything new here, but my duty is to remind. So the sermon is to remind people, not only to educate for new things. We sometimes, there might be some new information for some people, but most of the things are only reminders. We have read Quran many times and still we are reading, and many times we are just getting reminded. So, Amr bil Ma'ruf and then Nahi anil Munkar. Nahi anil Munkar is that when we are going to remind people or tell people that what they are doing, this is not right, and they need to stop from it. And that is, as I said earlier, Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar, both are equally important. Now, very briefly, a list of munkarat. Munkarat are meaning too many, we cannot just put them in a list. As we cannot make a list of those maruf, we had selected a few, and here also there is a small selection. Number one, which is very common in our communities, in our families and in our communities, misconceptions in our aqaid, in our belief system. Most of us in community don't read books, and particularly authentic books written by those first-class scholars. First of all, we are not readers, we are only listeners. We don't read. And when we listen, so we listen normally our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our uncles, those people like ourselves that who don't have any authentic knowledge. May Allah bless them, at least they did something and they give us some basic information. But if I have heard something from my father or from my mother or from my grandfather or my grandmother or my uncle or my aunt, it doesn't mean that is something that I should take it as authentic knowledge of Deen. Because they were lay people. They didn't go to any seminaries, they didn't go to any schools of religion, and whatever information they had again listened from right and left. And many times, even if people listen in class, retention is very little. And then many times people just get information from here and there and things get mixed up. People listen and then they misunderstand. So many times misconceptions come from misunderstandings. Maulana said something and he or she understood something else. And person will say, I heard from that great Maulana, he was speaking and this is what I heard. While reality is that Maulana maybe meant something else and they understood something else. So that is one thing. There is very little reading. And again, if we read, we don't read the books written by Sheikh Saduq, for example, or by Sheikh Tusi, for example, or by Allama Hilli, or by those great scholars. Again, what we read is Imamiya Jantri. What we read is these, at the most, Tofatul Awam, and some of the very basic kind of books written by some community elders, some community members, some community leaders, and sometimes the information is not very authentic and it is not all what it should be. So then what happens? Most of our knowledge comes by listening the majalis, listening by these people that who speak from pulpit. And again, I don't have to tell you that more than 90% of those people who come to the pulpit, they are disqualified. Actually, they are not qualified to come at the pulpit or speak from the pulpit. More than 90%. These are the people that they need to go back to study and complete their education and try to, first of all, correct themselves and their own misconceptions. But since they are very popular speakers, they have the art of speaking, they are natural speakers, they can draw the attention, they are crowd pullers, so they are allamas, and everybody is recommending to each other to listen to this one. This is the clip, this is the speech, how many views, and see, this is a great scholar and the great speaker. So first of all, 90% of them are not even qualified to speak. And that is why you see that most of them, we don't invite them. So I don't feel comfortable of putting them on the member or putting them here on the pulpit. And then those who are qualified, again they are, when they come in the crowds, if they sell if they provide the raw material, or if they give you what they know or what is written in the book, you guys will sleep in your majlis. The majlis will go down and people will start sleeping because that material doesn't have that much spice. So in order to survive and to remain in the field and to get another majlis from you and to get the invitation for next year again to come back, so they have to put so much water in the milk and to give it some flavor, to make it tasty, to make it attractive. There are only 1% or 2% people. Altogether 1 or 2% people at the most. The real number should be that, as you say, point this, but I am very generously saying 1% or 2%. This is very generous grading. That 1% or 2% are the people that who tell the truth and who tell you what is written in the books. Rest of that is all fabrication, exaggeration, and man-made kind of the stuff to just please you and to have the people jumping up and down and creating the environment and then getting the invitation to come back next time, because this is what they do for their living. This is their livelihood. So this is why we have the misconceptions, even about Tawheed and Risalat, even about the Quran, even about the Imams, Imamat, and the basic aqaid. Basic aqaid. We are in crisis as a community, my brothers and sisters. When I say as a community, I mean a community at large, Shia community worldwide. Because the people who are speaking, they were supposed to be what you call silent. And those who are silent, they were supposed to speak. Those who are supposed to speak, they are silent. They are sitting only in Najaf and Qom and in those big centers of knowledge as Maraje Taqleed or as those very senior scholars. They don't speak. And those who are supposed to be silent, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. And they are highly in demand. And then, even if we listen one, then we want to listen the second, then we want to listen third. People listen 4, 5 people every day. They are not tired of listening them. And this is what is going on. So misconceptions in aqaid, misconceptions in traditions, misconceptions in our daily practices. Ulama have given so many examples about, for example, so there are misconceptions about Tawheed. There are misconceptions about Risalat. There are misconceptions about Imamat. There are misconceptions about Ma'ad. There are misconceptions about certain other beliefs. There are then misconceptions about these a'mal, daily practices. If you look into our daily adab, daily practices, what is the English word they use for nahs? Manhus, nahs. Every day we receive, if people don't, normally people call us for 2 things. Either to do, Maulana, do istikhara for us, or tell us this day is good or this day is bad. These are the 2 more important calls which we receive on daily basis, day and night. We want to do something and tell us this is a good day or bad day, while every day is a good day. There is no bad day. There is no bad day. And if there is a bad day, it is just considered bad day because something bad happened at that day, but that day was bad. It doesn't mean that this day is bad forever. But then, if we go with this understanding, then you don't have 365 days in your calendar anymore. You know, what kind of bad luck is for this community who has only 150 days in their 365 days calendar to do business or to do travel or to conduct the marriage or to do anything. These poor people, they cannot do anything for 200 days. And then you think this community is going to be the leading community in the world? Poor community which doesn't have 365 days. It has only 150 days at the most. You look at the Jantri or Tuhfatul Awam, every other day is bad. Every other day is nahs. Every other day is bad. You cannot travel. You cannot cut the fabric. You cannot wear the new libas. You cannot buy the property. You cannot do business. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. So, scholars have gone into this and they find there are very weak kind of narrations, if there are. But this is basically now one misconception. Particularly this number 13, for example. This number 13, if you get the seat, for example, in your bus or in the airport, in your airplane, or you get that number when you are buying the house or something like that, is number 13. It is so terrifying for some people. Then if the number becomes 5 or if the number becomes 12, then I have to buy it because it is number 5. No matter it is good house or it is bad house, but I have to buy it because its number is 12. There is nothing in these numbers. So there is if this is a bad place and it has so many rooms, and if there is number 5, then it means that room is pure, because it has number 5, because it has number 12. So these numbers and all these kind of things, so people have, these are misconceptions. We need to understand, and then we need to make others understand in our family and in our community. This is nahi anil munkar, and telling them that no, meaning no day is bad. Days are good. And we have 365 days. We don't have only that day of Ashura in our Shi'i Islamic calendar. One day, which again, if you know the mas'ala, it talks about karahat. It talks about that it is makruh, it is disliked. No faqih from the beginning until today has given the fatwa that it is haram. For example, to do business or to do anything which you can do any other day. No one has said that if you do the nikah, for example, that nikah will become batil, and they have to do the nikah again next day. I'm just here talking about law. Nobody has said that if you do it, then the nikah becomes batil, and next day you have to do the nikah. But it's only that one day which we are told that dedicate that day for Imam Hussain and for his remembrance. Don't engage in business. Don't go and open the shop. Don't do collect anything for example, rizq or other things. Dedicate that day only for the remembrance of Abu Abdullah, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. But other than that, nobody told that this is, meaning you cannot do business, or you cannot open the shop, or you cannot buy the property, or you cannot travel, or you cannot do the marriage, or you cannot do this, or you cannot do that. But see what happens in our community. Again, we get calls almost again every day, if not every day, every week. My wife is expecting and we are having a child, and this child, for example, is going to get birth on that particular day, on Monday or Tuesday, and this is going to be the date. So what name I should give according to Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday? People think, and there are people who make money from it. In our communities, there are people who have made some information that if somebody is born on Monday, the name should start with Alif. If somebody is born on Wednesday, the name should start with Ba. If somebody is born on this day, the name should start from here. And then what ring is good for me, and what stone is good for me, and what color is good for me, and what this and that. And when the Nowruz comes, then again people start asking us the amal for Nowruz and all those kind of details which are not written anywhere. So they call it majoring in minors. So the issues which are non-issues, these are the important issues in our community. We were embarrassed in Iran when we would visit the offices of our Maraje Taqleed, and sometime when we were sitting and they were in good mood, so they would embarrass us to tell that we don't receive one single good question from your country. Tons of this mail which comes, they ask only masail about Zuljana, not about for themselves. Or they ask masail about Alam. They ask masail about Tabut. But they don't ask any halal or haram for themselves. So only their horse is the one who does everything. There is no masala, no question about salat, there is no question about zakat, there is no question about homes, there is no question about hajj, there is no question about ziwaj, marriage, divorce, business. All masail are about Zuljana and Alam and Hazri and Niyaz and Nazar and this and that. So that is the level of our information in our community. So who is going to change, my brothers and sisters? I know people don't like when you talk on these issues. I can only afford to talk about these issues in my own masjid. That's why I don't go to other masajid. But this is something that we need to talk about, we need to remind each other, we need to raise the level of awareness in our communities. And these are all misconceptions. We should try to educate ourselves in these areas. So today we just discussed about, again, I spoke about kulliyat. I spoke about very general things in a very general way. If I would get into the details, how many misconceptions we have about Tawheed, how many misconceptions we have about Risalat, how many misconceptions we have about Imamat, how many misconceptions we have about Ma'ad, and then all these other areas, it can be a series of lectures for a whole 1 year. Just generally, I spoke about this. So whenever you get chance, my brothers and sisters, again, read if you want to educate yourself. Reading. And read only those books which are written by those first-class scholars. Not anything. So, as there is junk food, there is junk literature also. There are so much junk material that which people purchase and read. So it should be, again, as you are selective about your health and your food, you look for organic, you look for pure, so you look for the materials which you read also. Same is about listening. Don't listen to anyone and everyone. Be very careful. First check the credibility with an alim or somebody, and then listen to them. And again, if you listen someone's majlis for a masaib, that's fine. So you are listening masaib and you are crying for it. You are listening fazail, that's fine. So meaning it's okay. But don't buy everything what he is teaching, what he is telling you in the majlis. It's only to touch your emotions, to feel little high and to feel little bit emotional and shed some tears. That's it. But don't take everything what he is telling you as the authentic material. If you want to do that, then check with alim. That I heard somebody who recited this, who said this, so do we have any reference for it? Is it written somewhere? So the good thing what in Iran, Iraq and Lebanon they have, meaning these zakirin are almost very similar with one another in every community or in every society. But at least people are that much educated that when they listen to them, they listen only to listen that musibat, that masaib. But they don't listen to them to learn the deen or to learn that material from them. For that purpose, they know where to go. They have their Imam-e-Jamaat. They have highly learned scholar in their community. Or they have access to Maraj-e-Taqleed. They ask masail from them. They know from whom to ask the mas'ala, from whom to learn the history, from whom to learn the aqidah. And they know these are the people that they have good voice, they recite well, they make you emotional, they make you a little kind of attractive to those musibat and zikr, they listen to them. But they know their real worth. And they don't go beyond that. But what happens in our culture, that anybody who is popular here, he becomes mujtahid himself and people start calling him ayatullah. Because he speaks well and he is very eloquent and very powerful speaker and he can recite 2 ayat and 2 hadiths and he is a good popular speaker, so he is automatically ayatullah. That is the problem. Keep him just there at his position. Listen his majlis. I'm not saying because otherwise you will remain without majlis. These are the people who are going to recite the majalis. Listen them. But no, they are only Majlis Khan. And this is only their position. And cry for Imam Hussain, but not more than that. So I hope I was able to convey the core message which I wanted to convey. It took me a little longer than what I had expected, but at least I feel that within this group of people I was able to convey the message. I hope that this message doesn't stop here. It should remain, and you brothers and sisters should talk about it in your family and in the community. Recite a salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة اللهم صل وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصل الليالي والأيام أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة